So, good morning. Hope you had a meaningful Rosh Hashanah. We were so blessed to be with so many friends, praying, crying, singing, laughing. To see so many Jews together, more than we've ever had. Obviously, a lot to do with the times we live in. It was very moving. And the unity, no doubt, brought those prayers high up to heaven, blessing us all with a good year. So, today is the fast of Gedalya. Usually, it's the day after Rosh Hashanah, but since this year the day after Rosh Hashanah was Shabbat, it is today on Sunday. What's the story of Gedalya? Gedalya ben Achikam. So this goes back nearly 2,600 years ago, in temple time, the first temple, when Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, came and destroyed the first temple and murdered so many Jews and exiled most of them. He allowed 6,000 to 7,000 Jews to stay in Judea and Samaria, mostly simple farmers who would farm the land and thereby not leaving it barren, and also the soldiers would have food. And he appointed a man named Gedalya ben Achikam to be the governor, answering to Babylon and to Nebuchadnezzar. But what happened was, he was a very pious man. And Gedalya realized that if the people worked hard, and if the people planted, and the agriculture grew, then they would be able to live in the land of Israel. Yes, it was under the rule of Nebuchadnezzar, but they would be able to live in the holy land of Israel. And Jeremiah the prophet, who prophesied the destruction of the temple, and who ended up having the choice by the Babylonians to either go with them to Bavel or to stay in Israel, chose to stay in Judea and Samaria. And he supported Gedalya, who was a pious man. The problem was that there was another man whose name was Yishmael ben Netanya. Yishmael, the son of Netanya, was a very driven man, and he was very jealous of Gedalya. Gedalya was noble, was kind, was caring, and he decided to plot his assassination, saying that we shouldn't be under Nebuchadnezzar, we should rebel. Why are the Jews under him? And one of the closest advisors of Gedalya found out about this plot to kill his beloved leader of the Jewish people, and he warned Gedalya. Jonathan warned Gedalya. But Gedalya was so pious and so honest that he was naive to this, and he said it can't happen. And Ishmael waited patiently, and the day came on Rosh Hashanah when Gedalya himself invited Ishmael to come break bread with him and to celebrate the holiday together. And when Ishmael came, he came with 10 of his people, and they assassinated and killed Gedalya and many of his followers. One of the tragic times where Jewish disunity and hate from one Jew to another Jew led to destruction, because Nebuchadnezzar got upset and the Jews became fearful and they didn't know what to do. And they asked Jeremiah the prophet, who fasted for 10 days and then came to the Jewish people. God says that if you stay in the land, I will bless you. He made up their Jews had already made up their mind. They wanted to go to the one place that Babylon had not yet taken control of, which was Egypt. And on the way down to Egypt, on the cusp of coming into Egypt, Jeremiah begged them not to go, but they didn't listen. And they went there, and many of them were killed a few years later when there was upheaval. The point of the story is like this. What greater lesson on the day after Rosh Hashanah, the day before the first English anniversary of October 7th, that the greatest struggle and challenge for the Jewish people is when we have disunity, when we hate, when we fight. Because when we're united, there's nobody that could overcome us. Sapir Cohen, the remarkable hostage that was freed, says that her captors, the Hamas terrorists, laughed at her and told her, when you Jews are united, we can't do anything to you. But when you fight, that's our opportunity to kill you. Think about it. The power of unity. And I shared with them on Rosh Hashanah a story about this Chabad young man with 6 kids who on October 7th flew back to Israel to fight in reserves. And after a few months, he got a couple-week break. And he really wanted to go bring his family to Israel so they could see what's going on. But he didn't have the money. He couldn't afford the tickets. They were expensive. So he decided he'll fly to his family. The night before, he goes to a restaurant. And in the restaurant, he's eating. And when he comes to pay, they tell him someone had paid for him. They point to the side table where there's a secular Jew sitting there. And he goes over to thank him. Thank you for paying for my dinner. He says, sure, why don't you take some extra for your family? And the guy says, I wish, but my family's not here. They're in New York. In fact, I'm going to visit them. He says, you're going to visit them? Why don't you bring them to Israel? And this guy says, I can't afford to bring them. Right there, he takes out his credit card. And they call and they book the 6 tickets plus the mother's 7 tickets for his family to come. He says, I have an extra apartment that I'm going to let you use. And besides the extra apartment, I'm going to give you a credit card for you to have spending money when your family's here, to get them food, to take them out. The next couple of days, this young man went to the airport with a sign that said, looking for a family of 6 that's been missing for 2 months. He hugged and embraced his family and spent those precious times that he had with them in Israel. That's the story of Am Yisrael. That's what's woken up within us this past year. We have to learn from the story of the fast of Gedalya that the reason why we fast every year, 2,600 years later, and we say Slichot today, and we read a special Torah portion, is because it's here to be a constant reminder to the Jewish people that the most important way to victory is unity. The Hamas terrorists told it to Sapir Cohen. The Torah reminds it to us every day. And we've shown it in a remarkable way since October 7th. As we come close to the October 7th tomorrow, let's promise ourselves that we will continue this unity and this strength till absolute victory in Gaza, in Lebanon, in Iran, and from all the terrorists all over the world. Shana Tova. Hope you had a meaningful Rosh Hashanah and have an easy fast for those that are fasting. Am Yisrael Chai.